Everybody. So today I had a request to recolor the March 2013's watercoloring card kit using this Valentine's Petals image by Saturated Canary. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with my Copic markers. And I've already stamped her on Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. Alright, so let's start out with our outline and our ground. And so for that I'm going to use W1, W00, and my color is Splendor. I'm going to start with W1, and I'm just going to go all the way around my girl. So I'm going to make a very light, small outline all the way around. Okay, so I'm going to only do half of it. And then I'm going to pick up my W00, and I'm going to lightly, zoom in just a little bit here. Okay, so I've went around with my W1, and then I'm going to take my W00, and I'm going to lay my pen down on top of my W1, and I'm going to flick away from my girl. And that's going to soften just a little bit of that line there on the edge. Try to avoid that flower. Clear down here to the bottom, and we're going to work our way up here to the top. Okay, and then I'm going to take my colorless blender and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to lay down on top of my two colors, and I'm going to pull out away from my girl, past both colors, and soften that line even more. And this lucky part about this part is if you go ahead and you can brush right over her hair, because it's not going to get any color on there. Oh, the mailman must be here. The dogs are freaking out. Gives them something to do for the day. We've had lots of rain around here lately, so they can't really go outside, otherwise they get all muddy and gross. So they're stuck in the house and they're bored. Okay, so I went clear around that side, so now I'm going to go ahead, let's do the inside of her leg here too. So I switch back to my W1, and I'm going to lay down a light line right inside of her leg, all the way around. And then I'm going to grab W00, and again lay down on top of my W1 and flick away from that color into the middle. And then grab your colorless blender and brush over the whole thing. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. So again, I'm going to start down here at the bottom with my W1, and I'm going to go all the way up here to the top. Around her face, There's a little bit of hair right here, so I'm going to go around that. Kind of grab a few of those little strands there at the bottom. And we're going to come up here and connect to this other line like that. Okay, then we're going to grab W1. Okay, and again, lay down on top of your we're going to grab W00. We're going to lay down on top of our W1, and we're going to flick away from that color out here into the background. Right here in the middle, up here by her face. And we're going to go, whoops, and we're going to go down up here, go around her hair. Let's flick right over to this side. Okay, and then you're going to grab your color splendor, and you're going to brush away from that image out here into the background. And I don't care how far out it goes because you can't see it anyway. I'm just softening both of those lines as I go out. And again, because it's the color splendor, I don't care that I went over the girl's face or her hair or her arm or any of that. The whole idea is just to soften up that line just a little bit more. Okay, so now we better add some down here to our ground. So again, I'm going to grab W1, and I'm going to go right where I stopped here on her shoe. I'm going to go all the way over here and connect the dots. And then I think I'll do a little bit on the underside of these little petals that have fallen off. And then we're going to grab W1. Lay down on top of your W00, lay down on top of your W1, pull away. And then for the rose petals, I'm going to go all the way around. So I'm brushing over my W1, but then going clear around to the top to add a little bit of a shadow around it. Okay, and then take your color splendor. And I'm just going to brush right over the top of all of that. And then I'm going to brush away from my shoes. So next let's do her skin, and for that I'm going to use E11, E21, E000, E000, and E93 for the cheeks. This is just a skin tone I'm using today. I thought we'd try it out and see how fun it was. It's new and different, but if you want to use the old one, that's great, or if you want to go over to the blog and check out the all the tones that are there on the sidebar, you can find them under labels, Copic, coloring, skin tones, and you can pick whichever one you want and try it out. So we're going to start with E11. Oh, and if you've made it this far into the video and you've passed the boring outlining part, hit the like button. I want to see how many I can actually pull today. So E11, and I'm going to lay that down where I want it to be darkest. So I want the back of her arm to be dark, and I'm just going to use just a tiny bit on the back of her arm. So it's not like I'm laying down a big blob of color. I'm just barely using the tip of my pen, and I'm adding some color in there. So then let's go up here and do her hand. And I'm going to get just the bottom of her knuckles there, and then we're going to go along the bottom of this one and along the back of that arm. Okay, and then I'm going to grab E21, and you want to go right over the top of that E11, so I'm laying down my pen on top of it, and I'm very lightly flicking out. It's just, again, the tip of my pen, and pulling just a little bit more out here into her skin tone, onto her arm. And then I'm going to grab E000, and again I'm going to lay down on top of those other two colors, because it's such a small area that you end up touching both of them when you're laying it down there. I'm going to go right along this line and right up here to her hand. Okay, and then you're going to fill it in with E quadruple zero. Okay, and I actually did her skin tone twice, so I'm going to start over with E11. Make my very small lines along the bottom of her arm, just like I did the last time. I just want it to be a little bit darker. She's going to have a tan. And then E21. Trying out a new skin tone, we might as well try out adding a little bit more color and see how we like it. E quadruple zero. And then, oh sorry, that was E triple zero, and this is E quadruple zero. So I'm just going to brush right over that whole thing. Okay, then we're going to go up here and do her face, and for that we're going to start over with E11, and I'm going to outline her face, and she does have her little ears poking out over here, so I want to get a little bit of that. But I'm just going to very lightly put my line in right around the outside of her face here. This side, down this little bit of ear, get up here next to her hairline a little bit, and then I think I'll do the back side of this little curly Q just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to do E21, and again lay down on top of your E11 just a little bit, and flick out into her skin area. She's so cute, she's got a little tongue sticking out. Looks like something I would do when I'm an adult. And I'm going to go down this side of the curly Q this time too. So I can give that just a little bit of a shadow on that side. And then E triple zero. This little cheek at her ear. Got a little bit of ear left there. And then E quadruple zero to fill it in. Okay, and just like her arms, I'm going to do her face again. So I'm going to grab E11. Or whoops, let's add the cheeks now. So let's do E93 for her cheek. For her cheek, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add a little bit alongside of her eye and then pull out here onto her cheek. Same for this side. And I'm going to get that little bubble cheek right there. It looks so cute. Okay, then I'm going to go with the E11. Add a little bit more shadow here along this side and along this side. And then I'm going to grab E21, and I want to go over that line I just laid down. Add a little bit. Pull out here onto her cheeks a little bit. Soften that up. Okay, and then E triple zero. Go up here and add a little bit more color up here and go over my line again. Go over that cheek, over her chin. Cheek. Go up here and soften these lines up here on her forehead a little bit better. I didn't do a very good job the first time. Okay, and then I'm going to take E quadruple zero and just very lightly flick over her whole face. Soften those lines even more. But I think I'll go back and add just a little bit more of my E93 for her cheeks. And I take my E quadruple zero and soften that up just a little bit more. So So now let's go do her tongue and her eyes. And for her tongue, I'm going to use E07, E04, R22. And for the eyes, I'm going to use B93 and 91. I'm going to start with E07 for her tongue. And I'm just going to do a little bit where it pokes out of her mouth and give her a little divide there in the middle of her tongue, a little dab. And then I'm going to grab E04, and I'm going to go right over that. And then pull my little divider in the middle of her tongue out a little bit more. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with my R22. It's a nice little pinkish purple color. And then for eyes, I'm going to start with B93. I want it to be darkest up here at the top. So I'm going to give it just a little bit over here on the side. Get this side up here at the top. And then I'm going to fill that in with my 91. You just got a cute little white dot there in the bottom of her eye. I try not to color that. And then I may go back again with my 93 and darken up the tops just a little bit more. And then soften it with my 91. So for her hair, we're going to use E49, E37, E33, E53, and E51. I'm going to start with E49, and I'm going to give her a part. So she's got this great little divide right here, so I'm just going to go ahead and take my E49 and bring it all the way down so I can see that there's a part right there. And then I'm going to work on this side of her hair first, and then I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to take my E49, and I'm going to very lightly flick away from that divide that I put there for her part. And then these cute little scrunchy hair ties up here are going to cause her hair to have some shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit on that. And I'm going to add some more on this side. And then her hair looks like it kind of twists behind right here. So I'm going to add a little bit of my dark color right in there. And then it looks like it's twisting back around on this side, so we're going to go ahead and do that one. And do the bottom. And do just a little bit on each of this side. And then this side right here looks like it also kind of twists behind. So I'm going to add a little bit of my E49 on that side. Then I'm going to grab E37. And I'm going to add that right on top. So we're going to go right up here on the top and add that right in there. Maybe add a little bit going down this great little curlicue she's got. And we're going to add some up here next to her little ponytail holder. We'll go down the back just a little bit with this color. And I think I'll actually do her bangs just a little bit. Come down here where it's curving underneath on her face and put some of that. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and add some to the top. And we're going to add a little bit to each of these little sections down here that I put my darkest color on. And then we're going to grab E33. And we're going to go up here and add some more. We just continue adding more colors on as I go. And I try to flick in the direction of that the hair's growing, because her hair looks like it kind of curls up right here and curves back because it's in a ponytail. So I wouldn't be coloring like straight down like this. I try to keep my hair, my brush going in the same direction that the hair would be growing. Add a little bit down here to these. And then I'm going to grab my 53, go right back up here at the top, and add a little bit more color in. I'm leaving just a little bit of space to fill in with my lightest one, just a tiny, tiny bit. quite a bit of space left there. It's getting kind of dinky down here. Add just a little bit on there. And then we're going to fill it in with our E51. I'm just going to brush right over that and fill that in. You could leave a white space too, that's totally up to you. Okay, and then we're going to go do the other side. So again, I'm going to grab my E49. And I want it to be darkest where this little cute little scrunchie's holding it up. Put a little dab in there. And then I'm going to do her roots again. So I'm going to put a little bit right up here where her crown is. Okay, and then for her hair, this little section here looks like it's kind of inside. So I'm going to go down here where it kind of looks like it wraps in. I'm just going to add... I got a little too much the first time I colored it, so this time I'm just going to use a little bit less so that I can add a little bit with my other color in there so it's not quite so dark. Okay, and then this piece looks like it kind of wraps behind, so I'm going to get a little bit there. Same for that one. Get a little bit on each side of these. And then this one up here looks like it's kind of a little bit behind this other little section. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dab in there. And then I'm going to grab E37 and we're going to add right on top of that. So I'm going to go up here to our part and add some color right on top. And again, I'm flicking in the direction of her hair. But I also want to do right here where this little looks like it's connecting to her hair there. I want to give it a little bit of color in there. It's not going to be white in there quite so much. Okay, and then we're going to fill in this underside here that looks like it's kind of underneath that other section. And maybe add a little bit to this ponytail right here. And we're going to pull out. Add some more color right in each of these little sections. Okay, and then we're going to do 33. Add a little bit more on top. And again, I'm flicking in the direction that her hair is growing. It's pulled into a ponytail, so we want to keep it going in the same general vicinity that it would look like if you were to pull your hair into a ponytail. Go down here and add just a little bit to each of these. Not much space left down there. Okay, and then we're going to grab 53. Same thing, we're just adding some more color. I'm leaving just a little bit in there for my 51. I think I'll leave this part up here for my 51 too, because it's going to be, that's the top part of her hair, and I think be a little bit more shiny up there. And then we're going to fill it in with 51. And again, if you want to leave some white in there, you can go right ahead and do that. And then after I've got her hair completely colored, I always go back with my darkest color and add a few little streaks. So I've grabbed my E49, and I hold my pen straight up and down, and I just very like I'm making little check marks. I add some darker colors in my darker back end just a little bit. But again, go with the direction the hair is pulling out of that little ponytail. Same for up here. I'll add a few little streaks, and I always end up going out farther than I went the first time. And it just adds a little bit more depth onto her hair. Okay, and we're going to get this side. Got a few little streaks right in here, right there. I just want it to look like there's a few little strands of, you can actually see the texture of the hair with a few little streaks. just like that. So next let's go work on her shirt and her socks, and for that I'm going to use YR09, 07, and 04. I'm going to start with my 09, and I'm going to give her shirt a little bit of color right here in the crook of her arm. I'm going to go right along this little, her hand, and again over here on this crook of this little sleeve. And I'm going to do a little bit right here underneath of her chin. Color a little bit of that collar in. And I forgot to color her neck right there, so I have to do that a little bit later. And then underneath, we're going to do right where her arms are touching her shirt, and down the sides. That, and then she's got a couple of great little wrinkles in here. I'm going to go ahead and dab a little bit of color on those, and then I'm going to grab YR07. We're going to go right over the top of those colors, so I'm going to pull right away from there, add just a little bit more. Soften your line up. And try not to color those dots. Up here underneath of her arm a little bit. That. And then I'm going to fill it in with my YR04. But again, I lay down right on top of my 07. I want to touch that color so that I can soften that line when I pull away from it. Do the same thing. You may have to go over it twice because my line's looking kind of harsh right there. I'm going to go over it again to soften it up just a tad bit more. Pull away just a little bit. There, that looks much better. Okay, and then we're going to go down here and we're going to do her socks. And I'm going to start with my 09 again. So I didn't do the middle stripe, but I did these big stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little dab on the bottom of each stripe. And then I'm going to grab my 07, add a little bit on top of that. And then I'm going to grab 04 and fill it in. And I'm actually going to brush down away from her pants so that I don't end up coloring her pant leg. I get a little crazy sometimes with that pen. This way it keeps me a little bit more in the area I want to go. And then for her shirt up here, she has some great dots on there. And I cheated. I took my Spic of glitter pen and I colored them black with that sparkly glitter pen. But you can take your W8, since we're going to use that later, if you don't have a Spic of glitter pen, and just color them in with the W8 pen. It's pretty dark. Or if you wanted to make them one of the pink colors, you could do that too. I'm just going to dab my W8 on here because I didn't bring my Spic of pen into here to shoot the video, so I'm just going to fill those in like that. Next, let's do this cute little underskirt she's got right here. And so for that, I'm going to use RV34, RV32, and Y19. So I'm going to start with my 34, and I did every other stripe, so I'm going to pick this stripe here at the end, my 34. I'm just going to add a little dab to each of those little stripes. And then I'm going to fill it in with my 32. And then I took the Y19 and colored in these second stripes. And then later I went over it with my Spica Gold glitter pen and made them sparkle. I also use this color up here on her cute little hair bobs. So I'm going to take my RV34 and color each little hair bob with a little bit of color. And then we're going to take our 32 and fill it in. And then it looks like I also used that down here on her buttons of her shoes. So again, I'm going to start with my 34 and brush some of that color on here and then fill it in with 32. Moving on to her skirt and her shoes, we're going to use W8, W6, W4, W3, and W2. I'm going to start with my W8. And so I want to, for her skirt, I want how she's got this little fold right here. So I'm going to have just a tiny dab of my W8 right along that fold. And the same thing for the outside of her skirt. I'm going to add a little bit right here on this edge. So it looks like it's darker and it's going to wrap around her body there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my W6 and we're going to add a little bit on top of that one, but pull out just a little bit more. So again, I'm touching my W8, but I'm adding a little bit more out here towards my white. Same for this side. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm only adding a little bit more on there. And then we're going to go with W4. And again, you're going to touch your W6. And you're going to pull out onto your white area. Go just a little bit further with that one. And then same for this one. We're going to pull out here just a little bit more. Brush that line again. Then I'm going to grab W3. And I'm going to fill it pretty much most of the way in, but I'm going to leave just a little bit of space for my W2. So just a little tab there. And same for this one. Let's go over here and fill in underneath that skirt. Brush over this way. Leave a little bit of room there for my W2. Okay, and then W2. But I'm going to go from the edge of her skirt back in, just so I don't go outside of the lines. Easier for me to stay in my line section here. And then same for this side. And I don't care that I colored over those buttons. I don't think I actually colored them in the end. I maybe added some purple or something at the end. I'll brush right over the top of that whole thing there. Give it a nice little brushing of color. Okay, now we're going to use the same colors down here on her shoes. So let's start with our W8 and add where we want our shadows. So I'm only going to do the top of her shoe. So I want to add a little bit of shadow right here on the edge. And same with the bottom of this one, right next to the sole. I'm going to go clear over here to where her little legging touches it. I'm going to switch to W6. I'm going to add a little bit more. So again, lay down on your W8. Pull up just a tiny tab. And then we got W4. Brush away and up here into our white. Turn it a little bit here so I can get a better angle at it. I always find that I can color a little bit better if I'm coloring, flicking away from myself. Okay, and then we got W3. I'll go up here and go right underneath that leg in a little bit. And then we're going to fill it in with our W2. Perfect. Now let's work on her pants, and for those we're going to use W1, W00, and my colorless blender. So I'm going to take my W1 and I'm going to lay down where I want it to be darkest, and I want it to be darkest inside of her leg here. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of that. And then she's got this great little thing right here that says that's her knee, so I'm going to go behind that. And then I'm going to go down the inside of this leg, around her little knee, and again same thing for this little spot she's got there drawn for her knee. And then I'm going to grab my W00 pen, and I'm going to lightly brush away from that color and pull it out here into her pants. Go over that little knee mark. Same for this side. And we'll soften that up. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender, and I'm just going to swoosh over the whole thing. Same for this one. We'll brush right over our dark color, clear over here to this side. And that was it for her pants. I just wanted them to have a little bit of a shadow, but still be sort of white. So now let's do her leggings and the soles of her shoes. And for that I'm going to use E47, E44, E43, E42, and E41. And I'm going to start with my E47. And I think I'll do her soles of her shoes first. So I'm going to brush right next to her leggings on this side, and right next to her leggings on that side. I'm also going to add a little bit on this shoe right here. And then I'm going to switch to 44 and touch down on my 47. Pull out just a little bit on that one because I got to add a couple more colors. So I don't want to color it all in. And this one we're going to pull out more, a little bit further on this side because we got quite a ways to go there. Go on this side. And then we're going to grab 43. And again, I'm touching down on top of my 44. And pulling that out just a little bit further. Softening up that line. Okay, and then we got 42. I'm just going to fill this side in. There's not too much space left on that one. Brush over that a little bit. Same with this one. Let's go on this side and this side. Okay, then I'm going to fill it in with my 41. Okay, then we're going to go up here and do her leggings. So I've grabbed my 47 again. So I want it to be darker up here, kind of where it wraps around the back of her leg. And a little bit there, and then I want it to go down the side of her legging on the back. And then this side again, I want it to be dark where it pulls away from her leg. And down this side of her little legging. Okay, and on this side, I want it to be dark inside, so I'm going to just fill that in right there. I should probably do that on this side too. Okay, but where it comes away from her leg, I want it to be dark right there. And then I'm going to add just a little bit right there where she's got that little indent. And then we're going to do this side where it comes away from her leg. And then I'm going to go down the back side of this legging. And then I'm going to grab 44. And we're going to pull this color out just a little bit more. Pull it out here onto our legging a little bit more. Soften our line. Bring this out here just a little bit. Bring this one out. A little bit of color right here in that little crease. Bring this side around. Try not to color my button. Like that. And then I'm going to grab 43. And a little bit more. Brush right over your line, soften it up. And I think I'll add a little bit of this on this side here. Start darkening that up just a little bit. Okay, and pull from this side. Go around my button there. Pull out here into the middle more. And then we're going to grab 42. Around my button. Careful not to color it. Both sides. Let's get this side. I'll leave a little bit of white there for my 41. Okay, and then my 41 is last, so I'm going to fill that in. I'll brush a little bit more over here on this side. And brush over that until I'm happy with my little line. And I like that shiny spot right there. So now let's do the leaf and the little rose flowers. So for our leaves, I'm going to use YG 95, 93, and 91. And for the flowers, I'm going to use R 39, 37, and 35. I'm going to start with the leaf, so I'm going to do our YG 95 first. And I'm just going to add a little bit up here at the top where it would touch the stem and go down that cute little line they got. And up here she's got a couple of little leaves on her flower, so I'm going to add a little bit in the center. And then I'm going to grab 93. I'm going to add just a tiny dab more. Well, those are too small. I'm just going to fill that all the way in. And then down here I'm going to add just a little bit more to my leaf. Well, just a little bit. And then I'm going to fill it all the rest of the way in with my YG 91. Okay, and then I'm going to do the flower, which is R 39, 37, 35. Okay, and then we're going to go down here and get these petals. So again, I'm going to start with my 39, and I'm going to make them all dark on the bottom, where they're touching the ground. And some I might give a little dab on that little line that's in the middle, depending on how close it is to my line there. Just give them just a little smack of that. Okay, and then we're going to do 37. So I'm going to touch down on my 39 and pull up here, but I want to leave a little bit of room for my 35. But if you color it all the way in too, that's fine. Just depends on how much brushing you did the first time. They're kind of small. Okay, and then we've got 35 to fill it in. Go up here and I'm just going to kind of go in a little circle. And kind of scrub my brush around just a little bit. That. So that is our alternate coloring for our March 2013 watercoloring card kit of the month. You can head over to the store and type in Valentine Petals in the search bar and see if it's still available. It is on pre-order until February 15th, 2013, and then if they're gone, they're gone. But while you're there, check out the other kits. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button at the bottom. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that'd be great. So thanks for coloring with me today. Have a great day. Bye.